always nice. I'm Jackie Aldrete, and I'm the managing director here at AVSI-USA. So the reason that we're all together this afternoon is to launch our annual campaign. This is our annual fundraising campaign for AVSI-USA. And by doing this, what we're doing is we're continuing a tradition that was started by AVSI Foundation many years ago, 30 or so years ago, of an annual, what they called tents campaign, which literally began as people going around to their cities in Italy, putting up tents in public places and spreading the news about AVSI and the work that we are doing around the world, and also raising money. So we're continuing this tradition, but we're also making it our own here as AVSI-USA. And we do so with the same two objectives. The one, which is to raise awareness, and the second, of course, is to raise funds. I think it's important just to remind ourselves that we do, that the first objective is just as important as the second. Raising awareness about our work, about the presence of AVSI around the world. And this is important because we all, no matter where we live, we all need to know and be sure that good exists, right? That even in front of difficult circumstances, it's possible to remain hopeful. We all need to be in front of those kinds of witnesses that speak the value of suffering and demonstrate to us the resilience of the human soul. So we really do believe that the more people who know about the work that we do, the better, not only for us, but also for them. And then, of course, the fundraising side is also essential. And just, maybe many of you already know, but we operate with different kinds of funds. Some funds come from projects and from donors, institutional kinds of donors, which tend to have a lot of constraints and you might want to say, strings attached. But this kind of fundraising is essential for us because it gives us the kinds of flexible funds that allow AVSI to be present where we are and to operate in the way that we want to operate. We think that this is true also for a new partner that we're bringing into our campaign this year, which is the Los Angeles Habilitation House. And you'll hear from them very soon. That's Nancy waving to us there on your screen. So now I'd like to introduce to you our theme for this year, the theme for our campaign, which you can read the title of already. You are the heart of development, a time to be brave. So let me see if it goes forward to the next slide. There we go. I'd like to just pause a second. This is the image, the iconic image here for our campaign. And I want us to just look at this boy. This boy is a South Sudanese refugee in northern Uganda in a refugee camp. But what do we see in his face? Or how do we feel looking at his posture there against that bare white wall? When we saw this photo, and knowing a bit about his story as well, we could see in his face that he's a bit unsure that he wants to come out of the shadows, right? His pose is awkward, and we can all somehow relate to that, especially after this year and a half of COVID. It's almost like he's asking himself, can I really do everything I used to do with the same confidence that I had once before? So he needs a hand that extends to him and helps coax him out back on sure footing to restart his life, to re-engage with the world once again. In a way, I think this boy reflects what all of us have experienced in this time. But of course, those who've suffered more will need more help. Doing this requires courage and bravery. Therefore, we refer to this as a time to be brave. And we need to be brave not only because the world is still a bit uncertain and COVID is lingering and all of those very real fears that we had, but also because the needs are really huge, right? And this is one thing that we can't ignore or deny, that COVID has increased certain needs and for certainly the inequalities among us. But we also saw in this time that the response that is needed, what this boy needs, is not only a material or financial one, right? we saw that what he really needs is a relationship. And ultimately, that's what all of us need. All of us have gone through that experience of loneliness and isolation that this pandemic has caused. So we want to propose to all of us that you, me, each of us is the heart of development. Each of us is needed here. First of all, this boy himself or any beneficiary, anyone we work with, needs to find the courage and decide to move out and to move on with his life and to receive the help that's being offered. Those of us at AVSI have had the courage to remain present and to go out towards those in need. But then we also need each of you to help us to be part of this journey, to be part of this, this effort to stay close to those most in need. So this "you are the heart of development" really does involve all of us. And we hope that as you get involved in this campaign, you might discover what it could mean for you. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce to you just a few more ideas that are contained in the concept behind this theme. And then we're going to share with you the projects that we're supporting this year. You'll find on our website a longer description of the theme, but just to highlight a couple of key points. We do feel that this year is asking us to make a leap forward, a step kind of further beyond what we've done in the past with these campaigns. And one motivating factor here is that the COVID pandemic has taught us that the life of anyone around the world can impact mine, just as my life can impact theirs. We can look at this, of course, from the medical point of view, but it's much bigger than that, right? It's much bigger than that because because through my suffering and through my prayer and sacrifice, my life can benefit someone else, but also through my financial contribution. Everyone is called to development, and this, again, this can be something that each of us has to answer to, the reason why this is important to us. But we would suggest that in part it's because the human family is one. And if we fail to live out this dimension of unity with others, then the horizon of our life remains small, remains a bit closed within the four walls of our house that we were constrained to during COVID. And again, this "you" refers to each one of us. Know that we each have a role to play. And I'm sorry that I'm going quickly. I don't want to dwell too much on every single word, but just to let you know that this concept is available. And if you do get involved in the fundraising campaign, we invite you to read it more carefully and see what it means for you. And anything that we can do in front of this situation, we have to do together. Solutions, or we're only going to be able to come up with solutions if we face things together with each other, with creativity and with dedication. And I think the projects that we'll hear from LAHH and from our colleagues in Haiti will show us this. Okay, so let's get into the projects that we're supporting this year. First of all, our first goal is to raise $20,000 to support 3 of our long-term partners in Latin America. These are organizations that many of us are familiar with already: Crecemos in Mexico, Fundación Sembrar in Ecuador, and CREN in Brazil. Each of them have their own particularities, but what they have in common is that they're places of affection and education, responding to very basic needs for food, but also responding to the need for belonging and accompaniment in these 3 countries. So this is the first project that we can support. Secondly, we are going to continue to support AVSI in Haiti. We hope to raise around $10,000, which roughly will cover the cost of rebuilding 4 buildings. These are most likely going to be schools and homes. And this will be part of AVSI's bigger recovery effort in the south of Haiti since the earthquake. So I'm going to pause here because we have our colleagues from Haiti joining us. We have Jean Delvy, who's going to tell us a little bit about the situation in Haiti today. Delvi, if you can, tell us about the life of someone who you've met or who you're working with, to share with us, what the situation is and what the problems being faced. And then if you could also share with us how AVSI is responding, that would be really great. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Delvi. Let's see if this goes seamlessly.
Bonsoir à tous. Vous m'écoutez?
Yeah, we can hear you. But sorry, Delva, are you going to be speaking in French or in English?
French.
Oh, we thought you were speaking in English. How's your English?
So bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad.
All right. So Annalisa, do you want to translate for us?
Yes, I can help you.
All right. Annalisa is another colleague of AVSI in Haiti. So she's going to help us with the translation.
Yeah.
Jackie, I can translate.
Okay, thanks, Ezio.
Okay,
Shall we have Annalisa do it?
No, it's fine. If Ezio is comfortable, it's fine for me.
Tout le monde peut traverser ici au Connecticut, pas de problème.
All right, Ezio.
Okay.
Okay, you're
Let's
on.
start, Delvi.
OK. Bonsoir à tous. Je suis Delva. Je travaille ici, ça fait plus de 10 ans.
Good evening to everybody. I am Delva, from Haiti, and I have been working with AVSI in Haiti for more than 10 years.
Et pour parler un peu de la situation d'Haïti pour le moment.
Je vais vous décrire la situation en Haïti in this moment.
Ezio, you have to speak in English, huh? You were speaking in French, Ezio.
So, no, sorry. I would like to present the situation in Haiti now.
OK. Vu la situation du pays par rapport au secteur économique, social et politique, avec les événements qui se sont passés, avec la mort du président et le tremblement de terre, qui a encore fragilisé la situation de la population en termes de besoins, de l'accessibilité aux besoins et aux choses primaires.
Oui. So I would like to talk about the social and economic situation of the people, particularly of the poor people, following not only the earthquake, but also the killing of a president in July and the consequences. That is, people are more in difficulties. They are more fragile, particularly the poor have also difficulties to access to the necessities to live a dignified life.
Bon, la chose qui est le plus douloureux, c'est la perte de l'espoir et cette vision dans l'avenir par rapport à notre situation actuelle.
What is more, let's say, striking and of concern is the kind of losing hope among the people.
La population a peur par rapport à l'insécurité. Les gens ont peur de sortir, ont peur de vivre. En plus de la fragilité économique, plus de la moitié de la population n'a pas accès aux soins de santé, à l'hébergement, à la nourriture et proprement dit.
in addition to the economic political situation, there is a big issue of insecurity. In the sense there are armed gang, almost half of population cannot have access to health care, to have treatment. So there is also social, economic, and political situation, but also this lack of security everywhere.
Et comme je l'ai dit, la chose, le pire, c'est la perte d'espoir dans un changement prochain. C'est quand il y aura une amélioration, un changement. Et dans cette situation, personne ne peut le dire. Et ça détruit vraiment petit à petit notre espoir de nation, notre espoir de renaître, notre espoir de continuer.
Et on ne voit pas all the people, for all the people, the most, let's say, dangerous or attitude is that the lack of hope, because we don't see how a change could happen. So we don't see a perspective, and this is one of our main difficulties.
Et quand une population commence à ne plus croire dans le lendemain, c'est l'anarchie, c'est le chaos.
La conséquence, the consequence is that on live like in anarchy and let's say mistrust.
Et c'est exactement que là commence notre travail comme AVSI, comme organisation internationale qui est ancrée dans la communauté, et pour faire sortir ces brins d'espoir.
Our presence is AVSI, and we are present among the people, that is close to the people, is intended to, let's say, to give a kind of hope to the people that we work with, we try to help, helping really with the perspective of a hope for life, for their life.
Pendant ces 12 mois, on a été l'une des organisations qui a pu rester avec la communauté en dépit de cette situation très fluide, incertaine et dramatique, et de cette situation de désespoir, de perte, de criminalité, de violence, qu'on a pu rester pour allumer cette flamme.
Looking back to the last 12 months, we can say that AVSI people, in spite of these difficulties of lack of hope in the people, organized crime, yes, all these difficulties, we kept staying and with the people, staying in the field with the people. One of the very few organizations which are there and remained with the people that we serve since many years.
Et bon, je dis les peu d'organisations parce que maintenant, dans les quartiers où nous travaillons, sur Cité Soleil et sur Matissan, à Port-au-Prince, il n'existe plus de pouvoir judiciaire, de pouvoir de policier. Il y a rien du tout. Il n'y a pas de tribunaux, pas de poste de police. C'est vraiment l'anarchie.
Particularly in the poor neighborhood of a capital, Port-au-Prince, like Martissan, or it's very difficult to stay there to do something because there is a completely absence of security of the police. So we are in a complete anarchy.
Je me souviens encore, après les tirs, quand il y a les tirs, les affrontements, après que quand nous, comme opérateurs, on rentre dans la zone, l'expression du visage de la communauté, des personnes qui sont là, c'est comme si c'est quelque chose qui n'est pas vraiment, qu'on ne peut pas exprimer avec des mots parce que ça va vraiment les gens nous voient comme des personnes qui apportent quelque chose, qui apportent une chose dont ils ont besoin.
Non, je n'ai pas bien compris. Could you préciser?
Oui, les gens, quand nous, après les violences armées, les affrontements, quand nous, on essaie de rentrer pour venir les accompagner, l'expression de leur visage, c'est inexplicable.
Jean is saying that the people of this neighborhood that we encounter as a strange expression of their face, the trait of their face is something we have difficulty to understand. But in which sense? Why? So, who are we? How? Comme sont ces visages? Visages complètement désespérés ou quoi? Vous êtes bien accueillis par les gens ou il y a problème?
Oui, bien accueillis dans le sens que on est les seules personnes qui arrivent à entrer là où personne ne ose venir.
So he's saying that we are the only ones who try to stay with them and to bring some help.
Et à chaque fois, ce sont ces choses qui nous aident toujours à avancer, à continuer, à venir accompagner la communauté parce que on voit dans leur visage que si nous ne sommes pas là, eux, ils seront perdus. Pas parce que nous apportons toute l'aide nécessaire, mais parce que nous sommes là. Et cette présence, c'est impayable.
So, what sustains also our presence there, our activity towards them, with them, is that we help them to have more hope and particularly not for what we bring to them, let's say some necessities, but because we are there, because we didn't abandon them.
Hello, sorry to interject,
Okay.
but if you don't mind, no, what I'm hearing from you, which is, which is so interesting and moving, is that just by the mere presence, by remaining, by staying close, and continuing as much as we can to provide services, even, and for those of you who don't know about Haiti, the security situation is so bad that one day we plan activities in the slums of Port-au-Prince, and the next day we have to cancel them because there's gang violence, or the gangs have gotten control of the petrol stations and there's no gasoline. I mean, it's really a day by day, almost life and death kind of situation. And of course, we all know about the kidnappings. So just the fact that AVSI keeps going, even though it's difficult day after day, I think is the main, is what can communicate that hope that we won't give up. But then of course, we had the big shock of the earthquake in the south. So on top of all of this insecurity and just general poverty and difficult situation, we had the earthquake. So Delva, if you don't mind, I'm going to pass the question over to Annalisa, who maybe can respond for us in English, so we can hear, just move a little bit faster. But Annalisa, tell us a few things about what AVSI is doing in the South, the earthquake recovery, and in particular, we know that these funds that we hope to raise for you aren't so much, but what does it mean to you that we're here trying to help to support the recovery effort, and what does it look like right now in the South?
Yes, thank you. Yes, in August has been this terrible earthquake that really involved all of us trying to give the first response. And we started by distributing plastic sheets, kits, and at the beginning it was really necessary to start with activities that are called life-saving activities. And after we started to look at what we think it's very important for us and for the mission of AVSI, and we started to implement some activities, psychosocial activities for the kids, and to open child-friendly spaces. And at the beginning, that was something really, we can say, a little bit weird, because all the main organizations were just keeping going with the distributing kits, foods, and etc. And for us, what was really important to start also with the kids and with the families, to give some spaces that were safe and free. And so that was our main activities that we started basically right after the first distributions. And that was really interesting because we met a lot of families that told us thank you, because here there are a lot of organizations trying to distribute food, kits, but we need really someone that stay with us and with our kids in these situations. And so that was really important, because we started to think about the other projects and what we wanted to do with the community. Staying with the community, we found out that the main problem was to rebuild the educational spaces, and that is one of the activities that we are doing. We are rebuilding schools and building spaces for families and kids where they can share their daily lives. And that really struck me, because we really started to think about the needs of the population, to talk with them, and to think what's really important for them. And that's how we started to think about the project for the campaign. And yes, it came from the reality, from the encounter with the people. and that was really interesting. And yes, that's, I don't know if I answered the question, but
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Annalisa. Great. Well, I think that gives us a flavor of what's happening in Haiti. If there are other questions for Annalisa or Delva, people can certainly put them in the chat and we can come back to them. So I'm going to move on then. Besides, the continuing support for Haiti, which as far as the scope of this campaign goes, we're kind of focusing it on the reconstruction of the buildings, but we are also supporting the child-friendly spaces and the educational activities of Haiti, and that will certainly be a long-term effort. The next project that we chose to support this year is in Lebanon, which is a situation where you may know a bit about it, but here you have kind of a couple of crises all crashing on top of each other. Lebanon has received more Syrian refugees per capita than I think any other country. And it's an enormous number. I mean, 1.5 million or so Syrian refugees living in Lebanon. Many of them in relatively poor areas of the country, including the south, this area called Marjayoun, where AVSI has been present for decades. And now, of course, Lebanon has sunk into a deep crisis. And so the poor, the Lebanese poor are struggling to make ends meet. And now they also have these big settlements of Syrian refugees and are trying to, the public services and the NGO sector are stretched thin, trying to meet the needs of everyone. In this very dramatic situation, AVSI embarked a year or so ago on the construction of a new community center. And we're not going to, unfortunately, tell you too much more about it right now, but we do have a video that we're just finishing and will be available on our website soon that gives you a really beautiful picture into what this center is all about. But essentially, it's a physical space, a big building that will be able to house all the educational activities that AVSI's been doing, basically under trees, literally under olive trees and in tents throughout this area. All of the educational activities will now have a home in this community center. And it's intended also to be a place where the Syrians and Lebanese can live side by side. So we're nearing the end, the completion of the center, but we have a few more classrooms that need to be furnished and equipped. And so we as AVSI-USA want to take on one of those classrooms and raise $10,000 for that goal. Now, the fourth project is a new thing for us. We have decided to partner up with LAHH and bring them into this campaign and do our best to get the word out and hopefully raise awareness and funds also for the work that they're doing in California. And you'll see we have a star. Brandon is not only on the photo here on my slide, but he's also with us in person. And so we're going to hear from Brandon and we're going to hear from Nancy, who's the vice president of LAHH. They're going to tell us about their work. And yeah, so, tell us about your work, tell us about the need that you're trying to respond to. Maybe if you have anything to say about this concept of courage and bravery and why that's particularly important in this kind of almost post-COVID era, we'd welcome your thoughts on that. So over to you, Nancy and Brandon. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. And thank you so much, AVSI-USA, for including us this year. It really means a lot to us. We've followed the work of AVSI for a while now, and it's so commendable to hear about what's going on and the efforts being made in Haiti and what Delva was sharing and really that environment, which it's hard. It's not what we live every day in Long Beach. But you are absolutely moved to understand the very good work that you guys are doing. So we really appreciate so much being included this year. And we're super excited that we have Brandon with us this morning, who's going to take it from here and tell you more. But Brandon, I'm very proud to say, is a former employee of LHH. He has moved on to bigger and better things. And we really thank you, Brandon, for your time this morning to share your story with us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Brandon Osborne, and I am a former employee of LAHH and one of their first original hires. My goal has also changed, but the mission is still the same. The training that I received here for the past 13 years, I've taken with me to my new place of employment. Just the different atmosphere from doing janitorial to becoming a job coach and the mentor to adults with disabilities that want to transition into the work world, and giving them the proper inspiration of hope for in everyday life, because when it comes to the work world, there are a lot of people with disabilities that join the work world who want to work, and you see the passion that they have for it. And I am very grateful that I was able to take what I've learned here for the past 13 years onto my new endeavor. I'm very blessed and seeing, getting up every day and seeing the changes that I get to inspire my participants, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's on the volunteer site, or out in the community. Just being an inspiration for them, gives a lot of people hope. For me, it's more of, you never know who's watching. Because the work that we put out in the world is what we want others to give and, inspire. And so when we inspire them, we never know what they want to do, but as long as they do it and do it to the best of their abilities, that, to me, that's really all that matters.
I was talking with Brandon before we logged on about his change of job during the pandemic,
Yeah.
which it takes courage and bravery to do that. So maybe share a little bit with everybody about what gave you that courage to change jobs.
More of just being brave to do it. Just stepping out there. Yeah, the work world now is kind of hard because of the pandemic. So just getting out there, putting my best foot forward. It was a big risk. It was a risk versus the reward. The reward was landing and getting a job. The risk was, applying for it and, being willing and ready to do it. And then leaving a job that gave me a platform to not only be able to self-advocate for myself of, can I do this? Or am I going to be good at this? And just the whole atmosphere being on the job for that long, it was more, okay, if I did this, let's see what the world has. Yeah, now that was post-COVID. That was before COVID. Now, when you fast forward during COVID and now, it's a different dynamic for me to be in a position to where I'm helping others through the tough times. And I'm telling them, hey, whatever you guys want to do, go do it. Some jobs are open. This is what's open. This is what the criteria takes to get there. And you guys got the footprint. Now you just got to go out and just go do it.
Something else that we were talking about before is that foundation that you referenced, that you received by working here.
Yeah.
What would be some of the characteristics of that foundation that you now try to build and give in others? So what's the foundation that you received?
That I received here was like one of my training here that I received was being able to advocate. I was taught how to self-advocate for myself here. And one of my lessons that was learned, that I was taught, was there was a someone that I definitely look up to, and I did a lot of research on, and his name was Jonas. he's a protector. He's a two-sided coin. One coin, one side he's facing the village, and then when you turn the other corner around, he's looking the opposite way of keeping all the enemies away. And I can resonate with that, and it gives me a sense of, hope. And I can take what I've learned here out in the world, and especially to my former job, to my current job, actually, not former. Sorry about that.
Awesome. So when you were just speaking about coming out of the shadows, kind of like that iconic image that we saw at the beginning of the presentation, what advice would you give a younger person today who they want to get that job, they're not sure, they want to make a change, they're not sure? What advice would you give them to help them have that bravery and take a step out?
To have that bravery and take the step out would be, if you have a younger sibling with you or someone who looks up to you,
which you do,
which I do, you never know how close they are. They're watching you. Brave is just being the first step. Inspiring is the next, because you're pushing them to, when they get in your position, to be like you, but also wanting to forge their own path into being brave, into being accountable of what they, put out in the world. And that's always been what I've wanted, whether it's for my younger siblings, whether it's for my friends, or a stranger. My goal is to inspire them to be brave, to go out and do whatever it is that they want to do. Because if I could do that for one person, then I've done my job. And that is like one of my most wanting accomplishments and enjoyment that I feel when I can take what I learned and install it into somebody else. Then, hey, job well done.
The last thing that Brandon, you were sharing with us this morning was at your new job, you were doing a task that you weren't really excited about.
Yes.
And we were both very moved by kind of your thought process that you went through in front of a part of your job that just you weren't motivated to do. Maybe you can share that as well with everyone, because it's something clearly that you've learned and you've taken, that you have within you. That I think would be interesting and helpful for everyone here too.
There was, we all have these good days. We all have bad days. We all have unmotivated days. One of these days that I wasn't feeling motivated to fulfill an assignment that was needed. It was like, if I'm not doing this portion of my job, then what's the point of me actually doing this? I took a moment and I reflected on something. When I was still here in LHH, a few years ago, we went to the beach. I never understood the reasoning behind why me and the team were at the beach. I never understood it, but I got it then. And then also when you're able to play back a moment in your mind to where, let's take a moment. You may not be doing this task right now at the moment or in the future, but you're going to get there. You're going to get back to it. Let's help the team and get you back to your motivational spot. And when I thought about it, it was more of, okay, calm down. You're doing this right now at the moment. You don't want to, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it together, type of thing. And it was just more of a memories that I was playing in my mind for me to get re-energized, re-motivated to do a task that I was really unmotivated to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for including us.
Thank you, Nancy and Brandon. Brandon, that was really great to hear your story and how you've come so far. And I guess we got a taste of what LAHH, how they helped you get to where you are. Like I heard you talking about kind of a confidence in yourself, right? So much confidence in yourself that you're talking about inspiring others and helping others to be their best, to be their best self, right? And to make it in the job world. So, and so clearly LAHH didn't just give you a job or an income, right? They gave you a lot more than that. And I think that's where we hope that, I see there's a connection with what we do at AVSI and kind of the method with which LAHH works. Because of course we have to provide services and help people, make ends meet and have enough food to put on the table and all of that, because those things are important. But by providing a place of belonging and education and a friendship, it sounds like those were really the things that have helped you move on and make that next step out of the initial job and into this next position, which sounds really great. So so thank you for sharing, and we're happy to be able to spread the word, as I said, and hopefully get other people interested in supporting your work, the work of LAHH. So with that, I'll just add one last bit of our campaign is, in addition to supporting these 4 different projects, which each have really pretty immense needs, we are also hoping to intrigue some people out there to also just support the general mission of AVSI-USA, which provides us those more flexible resources just to continue doing what we're doing and reaching out to a larger donor base. We really do believe that a contribution to the general fund does have an exponential impact because it allows us to do so much more. So we're coming to the end here, and this is just kind of a practical kind of next steps kind of slide, right? Just to remind people that how to engage with this campaign. What does it really mean? First of all, a lot of our information is on our website. You can get that full concept of the theme there, descriptions of the projects, a flyer that you can download. You'll see the donation buttons right there, and with a convenient little meter to show us how we're doing towards our goal. And basically the message is, this is a campaign that's pretty open and flexible, that people, individuals, families, groups could either go around and raise the money on their own to donate, or you get together with some friends and organize an event. And you can either support a specific project, whichever one most kind of calls to you, or you can just support the campaign in general. It's up to you. We are here, myself, you see Roberta, why don't you wave? Roberta's also there, and so is Cecilia. You can wave too, Cecilia. And of course, most people know it. So all of us are here to answer questions and support you if you do decide to do some kind of fundraising campaign. But with that, I thank you for joining us and for your interest. We'll end this here. And for those of you who are on the call, if anyone wants to remain and ask any questions, feel free to do so. But thank you all for your support, and have a good rest of the day. Bye. All right, well, thank you, Brandon, appreciate it. And Dalva, merci beaucoup. Sorry